Okay, people, so Sinners. This is the new film from Ryan Coogler. He wrote and directed. He also is a producer on the film, along with his wife, Zinzi Coogler, and his business partner, Sev Ohanian. It is executive produced by Anthony Titanegro, Andrew Larry, Ludwig Gorason, Will Greenfield, Rebecca Choi, and Pete Chippetta. It is co-produced by Tina Anderson and Kenneth Yu, and it's associate produced by Amar Mohammed. So Ludwig Göransson also collaborates with him once again on the music. Autumn Darod Arkapow is down with the cinematography. Michael P. Shorver edits the piece. Right, casting, that was all handled by Francine Masler. Hannah Beechler is production design. Art direction, we have Jess Rosenthal, Timotheus Davis, and Jonathan Kapow. Monique Champagne is set decoration. Costume design is Ruth E. Carter. All right, so we also, our cast, let's hit the cast, right? So, Michael B. Jordan even, plays the brothers, the twins, Smoke and Stack. We have got, his cousin, Sammy Moore, played by Miles Catton. Miles' dad, Jediah, is played by Saul Williams. There's Ruthie, played by Andreen Ward-Hammond. Beatrice, played by Tenji L. Jackson. We've got Lisa Chow, played by Helena Hu. Her husband, Bo, played by Yao. There's Terry, played by Sam Balone. We've got Lisa and Bo's daughter Grace, played by Lee Jean Lee. There's Delta Slim, played by Delroy Lindo. Perline, played by Jamie Lawson. Mary, played by Haley Stenfield. We've got Cornbread, played by Omar Benson Miller. Furice, played by Imoni Ellison. Annie, played by Wumi Mizuko. There's Bert, played by Peter Dremaines. Joan, played by Lola Kirk. And their sire, right? Remick, played by Jack O'Connell. Who else do we have? Chayton, played by Nathaniel Accord. There is Hogwood, played by David Malandona. Who else? Patterson, played by Graylin Bryant Banks. Jacob, played by Nikoi Banks. Chris, played by Christian Robinson. Jeff, played by Justin William Davis. Buddy Guy is the jazz musician. Michael A. Newcomer is the bartender towards the end. Theodos Crane is a bouncer. Right, that's I feel most of the big characters. Right, so yeah, trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So Sinners, man, like, yo, I remember there was all this talk about a new original project that Ryan Coogler had developed and was going to write and direct. And there was a big bidding war. Warner Brothers won it. And I was like, oh, what is this going to be? And we got drip fed like some information, right? That it was going to be a kind of a gothic horror film set in the deep south, right? And you're just like, oh, what's this gonna look like, right? But I have to say, a lot of the anticipated films of late have turned up being lame ducks. So there was a lot riding on this. There was some trepidation, but man, like when you look at the track record of Ryan Coogler, you know, gotta be like in Coogler we trust, right? So thanks to Bounce Cinema, I got to go to a preview screening with my boy Daniel Glenn Barber, and we checked out Sinners. And yo, I really enjoyed the fuck out of this, man. I really did. It was so interesting, right? We had these really imaginative storytelling techniques on display, right? The film starts off and you have Sammy. He's driving in this beat up car, turns up outside this church. It's just like this building. You can hear the singing, and so you assume, oh, it's a church. And he goes inside, and someone's like, Sammy. And then the priest, who, later on we find out is his dad, he's like, come forward. And he's like, drop the guitar. And Sammy's got these scratches on his face, and you're like, yo, what is going on? Right? And then we go the day before, right? So we look to see how we got to those events. And it's a trick a load of people use, right? But it's one of those things that sometimes it informs you who survives, right? Because we've now seen where it kind of ends. So how do we get there? So we have Smoke and what was it? Smoke and Jesus Christ, Stack turn up, like come into town, and they're looking to open up a juke joint, right? A club, a jazz place. They've got Irish beer, Italian wine. And they're looking to create something new in their own hometown, and they're bringing their friends along, right? So we're watching how this all develops. Now the thing being, we know that this is like, it's being sold as a horror, so you're like, okay, so how do we get to the horror aspect, right? What is the horror? But this, this is set pre-war in the Deep South. You know what I mean? And the, still have this divide, right? There's this divide, there's slavery, there's all of these things. The plight of the black man is not great. So although, traditional horror has not yet started, as it were, there is horror here, right? The horror is the plight of these people. Because although, you can look and you think, oh, they're free, they're not really free. The Klan is rife, right? So you have to be very cautious. Like, anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like, your rights are curtailed. You know what I mean? So it's not this world of freedom, And you think about racism in the world today, right? And the barriers and all of that. That is nothing. Nothing. It pales in comparison to those times, right? So that is horror in itself. But the foundation is being laid for these characters, right? For what they're trying to do. And remember, this all takes place essentially in a day. This film, it's set, basically within 24 hours. You know what I mean? So we're seeing all of this, and it's a really interesting way to tell this story, right? Because there's this point where we have got Delta Slim, Delroy Lindo's character, talking about him and his friend, and what happened. And as he is telling this story, you notice what you're hearing are the sounds, are these horrific sounds that, pertain to this story. And that was like, oh shit, that's really smart, right? And you notice in other scenes that you have what you're seeing on the screen, but then in the background is, other noises, other kind of, this other layer of what might be talked about or, indicated. So you have all of these things, which is really just like, oh, man, this is good, right? And then the camera work was just, oh man, we had some lovely shots. And it's funny because I remember watching Book of Clarence and the opening scene, and we're following the car up the road. There's a similar kind of scene in this, right? When we've got Smoke, Stack, and Sammy in this car. I'm not sure if they've got Delta Slim at this point, right? Or if they've got Cornbread. But we have this kind of shot from above. And then as the car's moving forward, the camera's kind of panning down. So we're then from behind, and then we're kind of we're looking up, like kind of from the bumper. And it's just such a well-crafted shot, right? There's these shots kind of, we've got, what's her name? Lisa Chow, like leaving her shop and coming to talk to Stack and Smoke and her husband Yao, which was another great shot. when Smoke comes to see what's happening at his his car van, the way we follow around, that's a great shot. But I think one of my favorite bits of the film is this whole musical number, right? Because we have what is happening, right? We have that going on. And then within this scene, we kind of have superimposed the echoes of past, present, and future, right, given to us, which is, oh my, it was such a phenomenal shot for me, because it's not just showing, right, these different elements, but here's the thing, right, it's doing what music does, and that's invoke, right, invoke these memories, visions, this wonder, right, this emotional umbilical, you know what I mean? That's what it is, an emotional umbilical cord. And you're just being fed these nutrients of life, And that's what we have in this scene. It is magnificent. It's magnificent. I'm watching this scene, and it kind of reminded me of that other tremendous scene that James Samuel gave us in Harder They Fall, with the music and the gun butt hitting the ground and just everything. And it's just, they're very different, but they both evoke so much, right? So much. And man, I enjoyed the heck out of it. Right? So this film, man, it gives us all of this stuff. And, watching, like, there's a difference sometimes with a preview screening and a press screening, right? Because a lot of times the press, they're a little stush, right? You don't always get the emotional input. But in a preview screening, the audience is, they're charged up. And the way everyone in this room is connecting to what's happening on the screen, right? There's bits which definitely make you jump. Right? Yeah, I was jumping a good few times, and it's a packed screen. So you're just like, fuck. You know what I mean? Everyone around is like seeing you be like, you know what I mean? But man, like everyone is connecting this film in different ways. And it was so great to see. So great to see. But when we get to some more traditional horror, man, yeah, this shit's making you jump. This shit's making you be like, oh, hell no. Like, get in. Don't. No. And just all of this. Man, it was great, right? But also, we have these questions thrown at us, right? Questions around Smoke and Stack, right? Questions, kind of around Sammy's character, right? Questions around Mary, as well as Remick, right? What Remick is saying. It's, yeah, there's things that make you think, right? A lot of things that make you think in this film, but you have to be paying attention, right? You really do have to be paying attention, people. You know? The other thing is, I think it's the way the music, because we have different music interconnecting. Like there's, this music from the South, right? Blues and jazz. But we've also got these Irish kind of songs as well. It's interesting how we play with law too, because there's this bit involving Native Americans. And that's really interesting when you think about, skinwalkers and other mythical lore that all the different tribes kind of, believe and, work around. Right? So it makes so much sense. Now, there are things that you think, it would have been so interesting to get more on this, like with the Native Americans, and Remic's character. That would be interesting. The whole Smokestack Mary situation. What led them to leave in the first place, right? And come back. There's a really interesting thing that happens with Annie, So there's a lot of things that kind of get left on the table slightly, right? And you just think, oh man, it would have been great to get a little bit more, But I think what we did have, it just worked on so many levels for me. Now, when you're thinking about this film, right, and comparing it to some things like Harder They Fall, Book of Clarence, I don't know if it's as strong as those, but I do know that this, along with The Return, has been my favorite film of the year so far. You know what I mean? Definitely has. You know what I mean? And Ryan Coogler did not let us down. Right? Ryan Coogler did not let us down, but the cast as well. The cast is phenomenal. Oh, it is phenomenal. Right? Everyone really delivers here. They really deliver. And not just the cast. Right? The set design. Right? Hair and makeup, costumes. The editing was phenomenal. Because we have like these flashbacks that get superimposed on what we're watching. So we're flipping and it's just like these quick little flashes and you're just like, oh shit. Right? It's crazy and it works so well. But then also the score, right? I mentioned like this is Ludwig's, it's the fifth film from Coogler, which is kind of crazy because you think, I swear he's done more, right? But it's his fifth film. And Ludwig has composed the score for all of them. And again, a standout job, right? Standout job. Autumn, she does a tremendous job with cinematography. Like this film, it works on so many levels. Right? It's not perfect, but it does really deliver. It really does deliver. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I'm so grateful for Bounce for, you know what I mean, getting me in the door, right? So yeah, people, if you enjoyed Book of Clarence, if you enjoyed Harder They Fall, then, you know, if you were sorry to bother you, right? Then you need to go check out Sinners. Because it's if you thought, right, I haven't seen a good film in ages. You know what I mean? If you think, man, I've been let down by so many of these big films, then Sinners is going to right that ship for you, right? It's hitting cinemas this Friday, so go check it out. Have fun. Enjoy Sinners.